consultation with other specialties. At a minimum, focused pre-anesthesia physical examination should include assessment of the airway. Assessment of the airway is an important part of pre-anesthesia checkup because it is only done by an anesthesiologist. And lungs and heart with documentation of vital signs. It is important for the evaluation to be complete, accurate, and clear, not only to allow information to be relayed, but it is also for medical legal purpose. And as already mentioned, the goals of PACR will report and educate the patient and discovery of identification of disease that may affect the perioperative anesthetic care, verification or assessment of already known disease, formulation of anesthetic plans, or intraoperative care and postoperative recovery and perioperative management. And this is for organization of resources and cutting down of the costs. And also reduces the risk associated with anesthesia, promote efficiency, and at times it also acts as a screening tools. You can add order for random blood sugar, or on auscultation you can find any unusual auscultatory findings that can act as a screening tool, and to avoid airway difficulties or problems with anesthesia drugs. And the review of patient medication list during interaction, and drug allergy and latex allergy. There are many medications which needs to be stopped, or drugs dose need to be modified before anesthesia, and reviewing of the comorbid conditions. And screening tools, these are already mentioned. And regarding drugs, succinylcholine is a specific drug. There are which have various contraindications. Like it cannot be given in 48 hours after born. It cannot be given in hyperkalemia. It cannot be given in traumatic brain injury or raised ICP patients. So specifically nitrous oxide or volatile agents, these are various contraindications. So proper history taking is important. And timing of PAC, it is always prior to the day of surgery, either on the day or before the day of surgery. And in some emergency cases, it can be done only on the day of surgery. And components of history in pre-anesthesia checkup. History should be thorough, systematic, and accurate. And symptoms of current disease and complaints and associated medical condition. Hypertension and diabetes are the most common associated disease that have many anesthesia implications. And others are anemia, bleeding disorder, thyroid disorder, and different diseases. Review of patient medication list and allergies. And history of previous surgery and anesthesia. This could be documented in the patient documentation chart as well, if available. Then it has, if it has any problem with the airway, delayed recovery, post-operative nausea, vomiting, and history of malignant hypothermia. Though this is not common in our part of the world, it is mentioned in the records. When evaluating the patient with hypertension and diabetes or obesity, it is important to determine the presence of end-organ damage such as cardiovascular disease. And exercise tolerance is a significant predictor of cardiac risk. Exercise tolerance, anesthesia is a stressful condition. So the patient cardiopulmonary reserve should be examined. So exercise tolerance is an important tool. So if a patient is able to climb a flight of stairs, that is one flight of stairs, then the stress of surgery and anesthesia is could be beared by those patients. So exercise tolerance, and if the exercise tolerance is reduced, we advise for further cardiac testing, be it echocardiography or angiography, and history of any hypertensive agent, hypoglycemic agent, or steroids, and personal history, smoking, alcoholic, and menstrual history. Smoking is an important history to be sought because an active smoker has more chances of going into post-operative pulmonary complications. and history of airway history. This is very important because properly taken airway history helps to avoid airway catastrophes. And the components of airway history are listed here: loose chip tooth dentures, snoring, nasal obstruction, hoarseness, airway anomalies, neck mass, neck stiffness, neck injury, and history of allergy. And examination. Examination contains general examination, airway examination, and systemic examination. General examination, we already know physical signs and different vitals. Airway examination should be meticulously done. Mouth opening, adequate mouth opening is important for laryngoscopy and intubation. So interincisor gap, intergingival gap, and examination by of large tongue, oral mass, or high arch palate. Malampatti grading and TMJ mobility, neck examination of cervical spine, neck spine, and neck mass. Systemic examination, cardiovascular, respiratory, GI, hepatic, renal, endocrine, all these systems should be examined. Respiratory examination, I'll be discussing very important points only. Other than normal respiratory examination, breath holding time, this is the indicator of cardiopulmonary reserve. Patients should be asked to hold the breath after full inspiration. Normal is more than 25, borderline is 15 to 25, and less than 15 seconds is severely diminished cardiopulmonary reserve. So if it is less than 15 seconds, then further cardiac evaluation should be carried out if it is an elective surgery. And ASA physical status grading is divided into 6. So as you go down the ASA class, the chances of perioperative morbidity and mortality goes on increasing. Grade 1 is a normal healthy person with no organic, physiological, or biochemical or psychological disorder. Grade 2, a patient with mild systemic disease which is well under control. Grade 3, a patient with severe systemic disease with function limitation that limits the activity but not incapacitating. Grade 4, a patient with incapacitating and systemic disease that is a constant threat to life. And grade 5, a moribund patient who is not expected to survive more than 24 hours with or without operation. So surgery is a part of resuscitative effort. And grade 6 is a brain dead patient who is taken for organ harvesting. Limitation of ASA physical status grading is that it is not always associated with anesthetic risk. So it is sensitivity and specificity are not 100%. It includes the risk of asymptomatic patients. So anesthesia catastrophe usually occurs in asymptomatic patient and it ignores the risk of particular operation. So any ultra major surgery in ASA1 patient is higher risk than a minor surgery in ASA4 patient. So that is the limitations. Routine perioperative tests are also part of pre-anesthesia checkup. Routine perioperative tests are intended to discover a disease or an asymptomatic patient. They do not make an important contribution to the peri-op assessment. And this peri-op test should not be ordered routinely. It is dependent upon the patient and the disease and planned anesthesia or the surgical procedure. Should we test? Routine investigation are not recommended. Tests are recommended only if the result may change, cancel, or postpone the surgical procedure, change the anesthesia management, and confirm an abnormality suspected from physical examination and history. Selective preoperative tests are ordered after consideration of specific information obtained from the sources, such as medical records, patient history, physical examination, and type or invasiveness of the planned procedure and anesthesia. They may assist in making decision about the perioperative management of the patient. And different clinical perioperative testing in different clinical scenarios. And it should be ordered on the basis of positive findings from the history and physical examination, and from anticipated physiological changes during surgery, such as blood loss, which is the most important part of the surgery. ECG abnormalities may be higher in the older patient. So, in case of cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, and highly invasive surgery, and there is no consensus for a minimum specific age without patient, any risk factors. So, there is no any consensus. Pre-anesthesia cardiac evaluation other than ECG. These include non-invasive, passive or provocative screening test. That is stress testing. Stress testing is usually treadmill test. This is the most commonly done. And non-invasive and invasive assessment of cardiac structure and function and vascularity. The most common is echocardiography. Others are cardiac catheterization, angiography, and radionuclide imaging. And the risks and costs should be balanced against their benefits and also with the risk factors. So this should be matching with cardiovascular risk factor and type of surgery that is being done. Perioperative pre-anesthesia chest X-ray